Welcome back to the deep dive. If you, like most people, tend to think about heart health mainly in terms of, managing high blood pressure or cholesterol, treating symptoms way down the line, well, get ready, because today we're looking at things differently. Our mission is to really dig into the root cause of arterial damage. And we found a simple, pretty powerful daily intervention. It's actually a specific drink that seems to kickstart the body's own repair systems.
That's exactly it. We're trying to look past just the numbers on a report and focus on the biology underneath. The core problem often starts with inflammation, actual damage to the really delicate inner lining of your arteries. We call it the endothelial layer. It's just a single layer of cells, but it needs to be smooth, pristine, really, for a healthy blood flow.
Okay, so if that layer gets damaged, maybe scratched up, what does the body do immediately, like its first response?
Well, it kicks off a repair process.
Right.
And here's, I think, the core idea for this deep dive. That arterial plaque we all worry about, that mix of calcium, cholesterol, protein. It isn't really the first offender, it's actually the body's emergency repair action. It's like an internal bandage trying to patch up that initial inflammation or damage.
Wow, okay. That completely reframes it. The plaque is just the sign of an ongoing repair job. So if endothelial damage is the trigger, what's the main thing controlling blood flow that gets hit right away?
That would be nitric oxide, or NO. It's a simple gas, but absolutely vital. And here's the critical part.
Yeah.
The endothelial cells themselves are the NO factories.
Yeah.
So when those cells get damaged or aren't working right, the factory basically shuts down. NO levels just plummet.
And what happens in the real world when that nitric oxide level suddenly drops? What are the consequences?
Well, NO is a really potent vasodilator. Think of it as the signal telling your blood vessels to relax, widen up, let the blood flow easily. Lose that signal and you lose that natural flow control. Your blood pressure almost immediately starts to climb because the pipes are, tighter.
But it goes beyond just a higher blood pressure number, right? You mentioned clotting earlier.
Absolutely, yeah. When the endothelium is healthy and making enough NO, it creates this smooth, almost non-stick surface. It naturally stops blood components from clumping together. But low NO, that seriously increases the risk of clots forming. Research suggests something like 90% of heart attacks involve a clot, and often that clot forms right where the endothelium is damaged and NO is low.
So it's not just about arteries getting thicker over time. It's an immediate, potentially life-threatening risk from clotting. And then longer term, the artery wall itself starts to get rigid, stiff.
Correct. It's this vicious cycle. The wall gets stiffer, less flexible, and that just makes the high blood pressure worse. Arterial stiffness. And that's why, just taking something to lower the blood pressure number might miss the point if it doesn't fix the underlying NO problem or the damaged endothelium.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. The sources suggest boosting NO naturally isn't always about complex stuff. One powerful way involves something we usually worry about: sunlight.
Right. We hear so much about avoiding the sun, but the research points to brief, regular sun exposure, giving you two fantastic benefits for your vascular system. First, it boosts vitamin D, and vitamin D is really active in helping NO production. Second, almost half the sun's energy is infrared rays, and those directly help release NO from your tissues.
Two big boosters just from a little bit of sun. That's pretty amazing. And besides sun, what other simple habits did the research point to?
Really basic stuff, actually. Consistent nasal breathing through your nose helps produce NO right there in the nasal cavity. And making sure you get enough magnesium. Magnesium isn't just a mineral, it's essential. It helps drive the enzymes your body needs to actually make nitric oxide. It all circles back to keeping that delicate endothelial lining working properly.
Okay, so we can boost the master regulator, NO. But if we don't tackle what's causing the damage in the first place, it feels like fighting a losing battle. And that brings us to the big one: cholesterol, and maybe even more importantly, sugar.
Yeah, this definitely requires a shift in thinking for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We put so much focus on cutting dietary cholesterol, but it's crucial to remember your body makes most of the cholesterol in your blood. It needs it. It's a vital building block for cell membranes, hormones, all sorts of things.
Wait a second. If the cholesterol itself isn't the main villain, if it's just part of the repair crew showing up, why are things like statins the go-to treatment? Are the sources saying that's mostly treating the symptom?
That's exactly the challenge being presented. If the real root cause is chronic inflammation and damage, then just lowering the repair material, the cholesterol, without stopping the ongoing damage.
Well, it seems like a flawed strategy long term. The focus perhaps should be on clearing out the cholesterol that's already built up and getting it back to the liver for processing.
Right, and the body actually has a system for that, doesn't it? Something called reverse cholesterol transport, or RCT. RCT is amazing. Think of it like tiny garbage trucks, mostly HDL, the good cholesterol cruising through your arteries. They pick up the excess cholesterol buildup and haul it back to the liver so it can be removed from the body. It's the natural cleanup crew.
So, what can we do to make those garbage trucks work better, make the system more efficient?
The research highlights a few key things. Niacin, which is vitamin B3, comes up strongly for improving how well this removal process works. Also, regular exercise, especially more intense bursts, and strategic fasting, which can just mean not eating constantly, giving your system a break. Both seem to boost RCT, and critically, low-carb diets.
Okay, low carb. This leads us straight to that aha moment about what's often driving the initial damage, that relentless flood of refined sugar and starches. The scale of it is kind of shocking when you break it down.
It really puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Normal, healthy blood sugar, around 80 milligrams per milliliter, works out to be exactly 1 teaspoon of sugar floating around in all the blood in your body. Just one. That's the sweet spot, biologically speaking.
1 teaspoon for the whole system. Okay, now compare that to what people are typically eating.
Well, the sources suggest the average person might get 45% to 65% of their calories from refined sugars and starches, things that turn into glucose very quickly. On a standard 2,000 calorie diet, that could mean you're consuming somewhere between 50 and 100 teaspoons of sugar equivalent every single day.
50 to 100 times the normal amount. How does the body even cope? That sounds incredibly toxic.
It is incredibly corrosive to the arteries. Some describe it like sand grinding against that delicate endothelial layer. So the body treats it like an acute threat. The defense mechanism is insulin. Insulin acts like this super-powered vacuum, desperately trying to pull that excess sugar out of the bloodstream as fast as possible, mainly to protect your arteries.
So our insulin isn't just for digestion, it's working overtime as an emergency defense system for our arteries. But that can't go on forever, surely.
It creates this sort of protective buffer, but typically only for about 15, maybe 20 years. Eventually, the pancreas can start to wear out from that constant high demand. Insulin production might drop, or the body's cells become resistant to it. And that's when blood sugar starts to creep up, leading towards prediabetes and then diabetes.
And the link back to our main problem is direct. The refined sugars and starches are a primary driver of the inflammation and endothelial damage, which kicks off that whole cascade needing plaque repair.
Precisely. And that's why the low-carb approaches mentioned in the research can be so powerful. They target the source of the damage. Plus, they often show really quick results elsewhere, like reducing liver fat. Some studies showed, up to 40% reduction in just 14 days? That points to a huge metabolic reset.
Okay, before we get to the star player, the drink itself, let's quickly cover the supporting cast, other nutrients vital for healthy arteries, especially around managing minerals and waste.
Definitely need to mention magnesium. It's like the master controller for calcium in soft tissues. Think of it as the relaxation mineral. Arteries contract with calcium, but they absolutely need magnesium to relax and open up. So if you're dealing with stiffness or high blood pressure, enough magnesium is key to balancing that out.
And speaking of calcium, calcification arteries hardening up like bone, that's a serious issue. That's where vitamin K2 seems absolutely crucial.
K2 is like the traffic cop for calcium. Its job is to make sure calcium gets directed out of soft tissues like arteries and organs and gets put where it belongs into bones and teeth. Without enough K2, calcium can end up depositing in all the wrong places, hardening things that should be flexible.
And then to make sure the cholesterol collected by that RCT system actually gets out of the body via the liver, we need good bile salt flow.
Exactly. Bile salts are essential for that exit route. If the liver can't package and send cholesterol out with bile effectively, it just ends up recirculating.
Yeah.
And finally, don't forget polyphenols, these powerful compounds from plants. They act like bodyguards, directly protecting that endothelial layer from damage caused by inflammation and oxidation.
Okay, this perfectly sets the stage for the main event of this deep dive. The daily powerful intervention using those polyphenols, the one the research called exercise in a cup.
Right. We are talking about raw cacao powder. And let me stress, not just any cocoa powder. This difference is absolutely critical. You need to remember this. Cacao is the raw, unroasted bean. It's incredibly rich in these beneficial plant compounds, especially flavonols and polyphenols.
Why is that distinction, raw cacao versus processed cocoa, so incredibly important for this specific benefit?
Because the moment you roast cacao beans, or use alkali processing, which they do to make typical cocoa powder smoother and less bitter, you destroy a huge amount of the flavonols. And those flavonols are precisely what gives cacao its powerful nitric oxide boosting effect. So if you just grab standard cocoa powder off the shelf, you're getting the chocolate flavor, sure, but you're missing out on the potent medicinal benefit for your arteries. You have to look for high flavanol, raw, or minimally processed cacao.
Got it. Raw cacao powder. And once you have the right stuff, the scientific findings are pretty extraordinary. I was amazed that one study compared its effect on vasodilation, widening blood vessels, to medium-intensity exercise.
It really is remarkable. The way it works is, raw cacao acts as a potent trigger for the enzyme machinery in your body that helps you make more nitric oxide. It's essentially telling your endothelial cells, hey, turn the NO factory back on, and giving them some of the materials needed. It's sort of teaching your arteries how to function properly again, how to heal themselves.
I like that, teaching your arteries, because the effects aren't just a one-off boost, right? They're cumulative. The sources mentioned it could actually reverse arterial stiffness, which is a king sign of aging in the cardiovascular system.
Yes, this is where the anti-aging data really pops. There was a study looking at people aged 50 to 80. They consumed high flavanol cacao daily for just 2 weeks, 14 days. And the results were pretty staggering. The measured stiffness and thickness of their arteries became comparable to people 20 or even 30 years younger. Reversing a major aging biomarker that quickly, that's a huge finding.
That's incredible. Now, given that powerful NO effect, the sources also mention an optional partner, beetroot juice powder. Why might someone combine the two?
Good question. They work on NO through slightly different paths. The raw cacao stimulates your body's own production of NO through enzymes. Beetroot powder, on the other hand, is rich in nitrates, which your body can convert directly into nitric oxide. So combining them gives you both the raw material and the stimulation of the factory, potentially leading to a maximal effect on vasodilation.
Okay, super important now. The practical details, how to actually consume this stuff. Because getting this wrong could apparently cancel out the benefits. First up, temperature.
Yes, crucial. Since raw cacao is minimally processed, you need to be gentle with it. Absolutely do not mix it with boiling water. That high heat can quickly degrade those precious flavanols and polyphenols. Use warm water, warm enough to help it dissolve, but definitely not scalding hot.
Okay, warm water, not boiling. And the second rule is probably vital for, 90% of us? The coffee drinkers? If you want the arterial benefits, you shouldn't have the cacao at the same time as caffeinated coffee.
Correct. This boils down to opposite effects. The cacao promotes vasodilation, opening up the arteries. Caffeine naturally tends to cause vasoconstriction. It tightens blood vessels. If you have them together, it's like a physiological tug of war. The caffeine effect can significantly blunt the positive artery opening effect you want from the cacao.
So what's the rule of thumb for timing then? How long should you wait?
For the best arterial benefits, the vasodilation and repair effects, this suggestion is to wait at least 2 hours, either before or after your coffee. Give the cacao a clear window to work its magic on opening up those vessels without the immediate counterpunch from caffeine. Now, if someone's only after the cognitive boost, maybe mixing is fine. But they'll likely sacrifice that powerful heart-healing potential the research highlights.
Right. Okay, so wrapping this all up for you, the listener, the big takeaway here is a fundamental shift in focus. Maybe worry less about the late-stage numbers and prioritize repairing the basic plumbing, that endothelial layer, and keeping your nitric oxide levels naturally high.
And raw cacao powder seems to be a scientifically backed, accessible daily tool to help stimulate that underlying repair. It helps shift the body from just constantly patching damage with plaque towards actually stopping the damage and healing the artery wall itself.
So here's a final provocative thought to leave you with. If the body really does see plaque as just a repair job, what happens if we get really good at stopping the inflammation and damage that starts it all? How much could that potentially reduce the need for later medications?
And think beyond just the heart. It's fascinating because the sources also noted that improving blood flow and NO isn't just cardiovascular. It translates directly to better brain function, even better skin health, simply because of improved circulation and delivery. When you fix the core plumbing, those benefits tend to ripple outwards systemically. Definitely something worth thinking about.
Food for thought, indeed. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive. We'll be back soon with more insights pulled from the latest research.